Good evening, everybody. Yes, we're live again. It's Photography Live and Uncut. And today my guest, a very special guest, is Thomas Leuthard from Switzerland. Welcome, Thomas, to my show.
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you very much, Thomas. And apologies for the late start of the show. I've been at work, but at the same time, I'm going to blame the Google gremlins again. We got all sorts of things going on. There's quite a number of people who are looking to join the show, and I hope they do get a chance to watch it because you've only been doing street photography for 6 years, Thomas. Come quite a long way in that short period of time. Why street photography?
This is actually quite a simple question. I started like everybody in photography with different genres like portrait, studio, landscape, architecture, macro. And then I realized that it's getting too boring or too predictive, that you need to have sometimes a big effort to get these pictures done. Like in the studio, you get models, makeup and everything. But I was always interested in people. So I wanted to do my own thing, going out for a short period of time, just go out and take pictures, close to people, not set up, not staged, just life as it happened. And this was pretty clear pretty soon that I don't want to do the average photography, that I just would like to show how people live or what people are doing in their normal lives.
One thing that I noticed from the videos that I've watched, you seem to have this ability, I'm going to use the word, where you just don't really care with regards to the reaction. You're not worried about the reaction of people when you take the photograph. Would you agree with that?
Yes and no. I think at the beginning, everybody has a certain fear. Some people are afraid of every person they are taking pictures of, but I was afraid as well. But I realized that it was not that bad, and that the fear is in your head. And if you get over this fear, you can get very close. You can get your shot. You can walk away. You don't have to run away. You just walk away. You can pretend that you shot something else, and like that, it's very simple. You can take a picture of anybody, more or less everybody, from a distance like 1 meter without a problem.
Yeah. As I was saying, I watched a video where you just boldly walked up to this man, took about 3 or 4 images of him, and then walked away. And the cameraman obviously stayed with the subject, and he's sort of looking around me to say, what was he taking the photograph of? And I suppose that really is something which you don't see. And I suppose from a point of view as regards to the street photographer making those images, we don't see that part. We're more worried probably, and certainly from my aspect, of the guys following you down the road to say, hey, why did you take the photograph of me? So it's interesting how you set that video up. Where did this style come from? Is it something which did you see another photographer doing it, or was it something which you thought of yourself that that's what you wanted to do?
I think it came from my curiosity to get close to people. I always wanted to see people from a close distance. I want to go close to see what's going on, and I wanted to show people from a close perspective or from a close distance. I don't know, if maybe I saw some other pictures of people, but I think I always wanted to see into their eyes, and wanted to show them like a normal portrait, not from the distance. It has some advantages. You are really close. In the middle, it feels like you are talking to this person, but on the other hand, you miss a bit of the story. You just see a headshot of a stranger, and you don't know where the person is, what he's wearing, what he's doing. You just see a headshot. So after a certain time, I realized that just taking portraits is not that interesting anymore. It's a challenge, but in the end, it's not really telling a story.
Yes, because I've noticed on your website, this is not necessarily the only thing you do. You're not like, for argument's sake, like a Bruce Gilden that is consistently making photographs of portraits, getting in close, using a flash off camera and that sort of thing. We'll go to screen share in a minute, because there's quite a diversity of your street photography. This is just one aspect, I think, which people have spotted that you've done, and link you to that style. I think probably the best thing to do now is probably go to a screen share now. If I can, there we go, it's a screen share.
Yes, of course.
Get up your website, which is hidden behind there. Sorry, I haven't prepared this one, so.
You probably go to Flickr, because on Flickr you see more. On the website there are just about 30 shots.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about, because this is the whole different aspect of your work, which that's the sort of thing which I think people associate Thomas Leuthard with.
Yes.
Not this.
Yes, there are several aspects, and I do different things.
Exactly right, and I think this is the aspect which I'm enjoying now, seeing your work of that brilliant shot there. I know it's been done before by Henri Cartier-Bresson with a similar type of aspect, but you've caught that moment as well, which is a little bit lower in the angle and beautiful reflections in the water.
Yes. Yes, there I saw this big, how's it called, like
puddle.
Yes, after a long raining period. It was in Havana, Cuba.
All right.
And then I saw that people were crossing this this part, and so I went low, waiting for somebody, but actually they should have passed like 5 meters behind this guy, and suddenly there was a guy running and jumping over it. Probably he saw me and wanted to show off. So
yeah.
Just pressed the button and I got it right. Of course, I did shoot in burst mode, not to miss the moment.
Yes, I was going to say. So, how many shots would you have taken of this particular scene?
I would say probably 3 to 5.
3 to 5 shots, yeah.
Because you don't. It would be very difficult to just get this moment.
Get it in the one shot, yeah.
In one shot, and you would probably be not happy when you miss it.
You're seeing this fully on the screen now. You're not. It's not just in the bottom right-hand corner. Is that right?
It's in the middle of the screen. Yes.
In the middle of the screen. That's great. So it's again. This is a Thomas Leuthard classic example. We've gone up to that. Did you ask the guy for the shot, or did you just go straight up to him, took the shot, and then walked away?
I just get close to him and waited until he was looking at me and took the shot. Sometimes I say thank you afterwards or smile.
Yeah,
sure. But up front, I try not to speak to the people because they act differently. They pose, they smile, whatever. It's not.
Yeah, we don't want smiles, do we?
Yes.
Although this guy's thinking about smiling.
Yes, he was standing at a red light. I was crossing the street. You can see the reflection in his helmet, and I saw this guy waiting for the pedestrians to cross, and I went there, took the shot, and walked away. So he was not sure what he should do because he couldn't do anything actually.
No, he couldn't. No, exactly. Lovely open space of this. I know you've got the design of the wall, but the space on the right hand side of this image, and the silhouette of the man walking around. Again, these guys can do nothing about what you're doing, and it's intriguing. I've tried this shot, and 9 times out of 10 the people will turn away.
Then you were too slow.
Yes, exactly.
Because you have to be ready when they look at you, and you have to press the button instantly. Because some of them, there's a reaction. But to make this reaction, it takes probably 1 second, maybe a bit less. And in the second, you have to take the shot. Because after that, they smile, they get angry, or they turn their head away.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
She was just daydreaming, and I went in front of her and took the shot. I was impressed that she didn't change her face.
And the other thing I've noticed here, this is a hip shot, is that right?
It was taken with, I have a display I can tilt on my
right, yeah.
mirrorless camera. So I normally go on eye level with the subject,
Yeah.
And I don't use the viewfinder because the display is enough, and I have much more possibilities with the display. So I normally have to hold this on my belly and take
Yeah.
kind of a hip shot, but it's a controlled hip shot. It's not.
Yeah. You're looking at the back screen. It's
Yes.
flipped up. Yeah. Nice action shot there, some guys. Interesting shot. I like that one. Where was this one taken,
There
Thomas?
is a story about this one. This was
Yeah.
in Tel Aviv at the beach.
All right.
So do you see something a bit special? Look on the top of the shower.
Yes.
So actually, I wanted the guy to take the shower on the left or on the right side because then it would be the best silhouette. So I put all the other handles, all the other two on the top that he could not take another one. So this is not like a setup or a stage.
It's not a setup. It's a direction, so to speak.
It's kind of directing the people to the right way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I could just be on the left side because that was the space. Most of the people took the shower and just waited until somebody comes, and then I took probably 10 or 20 shots just because I wanted to get it right because there are too many people taking the shower.
Yeah. I like the way you've done that. That's I would say that's a bit cheeky.
It
Lovely,
is, yes.
a lovely shadow shot here against what appears to be a wet pavement, just maybe after some rainfall. Would I be right there?
Yes.
Yeah. I like that shot. And then great shot of the boys playing football through the brickwork there. Where was this taken, Thomas?
This was taken in Marrakesh, Morocco.
Right. Okay.
And of course, you have to leave the wall because if you go too close, then it's just a pitch and people playing football. So the half of the picture is the wall, but I think it helps a lot to add this additional layer. This is Victoria Station in Mumbai, where according to Wikipedia, 3 million people travel through every day. I just got one of them. But the solution or the story is that on the left side there are the local trains, on the right side the long distance train, and in the middle there was this corridor where actually nothing or not a big thing was, and there were just some people passing by, and I just had to wait until it was empty and just one person walking.
There's Marrakesh again?
Yes.
Yeah. That beach in Tel Aviv, there's the shower units in the back.
Yes.
Someone's pulled all the handles down, or was this before? You see all the handles hanging down from the shower unit. Is this another?
That's probably not a shower, or it was
a shower unit.
Yes, that's possible.
Spiral staircase, guy walking down.
Yes.
In the snow.
Winter in Zurich, Switzerland.
Yes. Lovely shot. Balance to that as well.
Yes, there I was just lucky when I came. Instantly there were these two people walking, so I didn't even have to wait.
No.
Sometimes it's just there, and sometimes you have to wait for half an hour and nothing happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And a beautiful low angled lead in using the planks. Great shot. And then the couple kissing. It's a good selection of work there, I think, which we've shown there, Thomas. What I wanted to ask you was, I got an email from someone who very kindly sent me an email via my website, and it was about privacy and publishing. Asking me basically what experiences I had with regards to difficulty with the privacy of taking a photograph of someone and then looking to have it published. So I answered it in my terms. So I'd like to ask you the question: how have you found it with regards to, have you had any problems, let me put it this way, have you had any problems with taking photographs on the street with regards to the privacy angle? Have you had anyone stop you and say, I don't want you to take that photograph?
Of course, there are people sometimes who say, I don't like my pictures being taken, please delete it.
Yep.
Some people just ask me what you are doing. Did you take a picture of me? What happens with it? And so on. But this, I think, the smaller the camera gets, the less such discussions I have. Maybe I also act a bit different, and I prevent not to make it obviously and prevent to shoot something in the background. And let's say in the last 1 or 2 years, it was not happening that often that people question me.
I think basically what we're experiencing now, that I think there's really been an explosion of street photography over the last well, I'm going to say a year, 2 years is probably about the best one, purely and simply because the amount of smartphone usage that we're seeing on the streets, and people using their iPhones and other phone cameras to take photographs, and people aren't that nervous anymore about having a photograph taken. But I'm just referring back to this email. The email was from a guy by the name of Mike. I think I've Trebert. I think I've said his name correctly. And I'll read out his question, because I want to make sure we get this covered, because it appears that there's quite a few people that are worried about the legality of publishing street photography. So this is what he said. I recently discovered you on YouTube. I have a question which you may have covered. I've recently spent a month in Paris, and street subjects, privacy, legality of publishing is an issue there. Do you sometimes ask street photographers about this? Can you recommend any particular episodes? Regardless of laws, experienced shooters must have tips on how to bend the rules. So I think what he's trying to say there is, okay, we're in a situation where you're taking your street photograph, you haven't had any issues, but what is the situation have you found when you come to publish that image? I'm not talking about maybe the Flickr or Google Plus. What are the difficulties in actual fact publishing it as a printed item in a book?
As far as I know, it doesn't matter if you publish it in a book or on Flickr. You have to have the agreement of the person or the people, if there are more people who are visible on the picture. Of course, when it's on Flickr and Google Plus, you can just delete it, and I think it's not that problem. But when you print a book, then you cannot just take the book from the market.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not allowed without the agreement. The law, not in every country, but in Europe, I think it's more or less clear. You're not allowed to publish without the agreement. I handle it that I just take the risk.
Yeah.
There's nothing else I can say, because if you would...
I think there's another aspect which comes to it here, because there is the issue of taking photographs that are going to be used for publicity in terms of advertising. So if you take your work into an agency and you say, look, here's my street photography, what do you think? And they say, yeah, love your work. Where's all your agreements and signatures from these people? And you say, well, I haven't got them. They then cannot use them, because then that becomes the legal side of things, isn't it, with regards to the images being shown when they're being used to advertise a particular product.
Yes, that's correct. So to make it the right way, you should have a model release contract with every person you take a picture of. But I don't know anybody who does it, because it would be a big effort, and I would not imagine that a lot of people would sign that from a stranger on the street. No,
I agree with you. Hopefully, if you're watching, Mike, we've covered that. I don't think there's anything really major to worry about it in terms of just a straight hobby, just a straight street photography interest, where yes, you may want to put the image on Flickr or on Google Plus or that nature. I don't think there's a problem with that. Is the major issue is if you want to use it as work for an agency and to be used in advertising. If there's anybody else who wants to send me an email on this, I'd be interested to read up on it. And my next guest if it is a street photographer, I'll raise that subject with them. But I hope comments made by Thomas here have sort of helped you to get a little bit understanding. I do know, and I think you probably agree with me, Thomas, street photography is not allowed in Budapest. In Hungary, have they banned it, so to speak?
They changed the law about 6 months ago, or a bit more, that it is not allowed to even take a picture of anyone in public without asking. I mean, the person has to agree before you take a shot, somehow.
Oh, so you just can't take a photograph and then say, is it okay? You've got to say, can I take the photograph, and then take it?
Something like that, yes.
Yeah. And that changes the whole aspect of street photography, doesn't it? If you're taking a photograph as a portrait, because as you said, you don't really want to see a reaction of you taking the photograph. You want to see the person doing something, so to speak.
Yes. That's the whole intention of street photography, to capture life as it happens.
Exactly, yeah. Let's talk about the equipment you use, Thomas. What are you presently shooting with?
I currently use an Olympus OMD EM10 and a 17mm f1.8 Olympus lens.
Sorry, 17 or 17?
17. So the crop factor
about 35mm, yeah?
Yes, 34mm. And for the portraits, I use a 45mm, which equals a 90mm, also from Olympus.
So you just concentrate on those two lenses. You don't take a bag out, so to speak.
I have two cameras with these two lenses on.
Oh, okay.
And I even think that one camera would be enough. You just have to be sure that you know what you want to shoot when you go out. So at home you decide, I would like to shoot portraits today, so I take the 45mm, or I shoot full scenes in a certain project, and then you take the 17mm. Because we always think that we have to have everything with us, because we could miss something, but in the end, if we really want to see something in particular, so we just imagine a project or what we want to see, and then we see it.
Yeah.
And we don't need the other lenses.
This is true. Something which I learnt to my cost when I used to walk about cities with a huge bag on my back with about 4 or 5 different lenses, 2 Nikon bodies, and all sorts of stuff. It was just ridiculous. In the end, I was walking back to the hotel with an aching back with hardly any decent images. Just because I had loads of equipment didn't mean to say I was taking decent photographs. Why did you choose the Olympus as 4/3 camera? Why did you choose that route? What camera did you have before? Let's start with that scenario.
First camera was a Nikon DSLR, just a D40. I just bought the cheapest DSLR just to try out photography, and then I started liking it, so I bought the Nikon D90 DSLR, then the D7000, and then the mirrorless cameras came to the market. So I got a Panasonic Lumix GF1, which was quite a good camera. It took a lot of good shots, and I liked the small body and that I could shoot more or less stealthy. And about 3 years ago, the OMD from Olympus came out. And this was kind of one of the first retro style camera with a swivel display. Before there was the Fuji X100, which I tried, but I didn't like it. The autofocus was too slow. So when the Olympus came out, I thought this would be my next camera. So I bought the EM5, and then the EM1 came out. I bought this one, and now the EM10 came out, and I'm now on the EM10, and I think it's far enough for street photography. It's actually the lowest model in the OMD series of Olympus.
Yep.
And it can do everything that is needed.
It's a great camera, and I think one of the things that people don't understand with these smaller cameras, it's not necessarily. Let me put it this way. I think that basically you've got to look at what you're going to produce at the end. If it's going to be a printed version, you're very rarely going to print anything bigger than an A4, and the 4/3 and the 1.5 crop sensor cameras, I use Fuji, are ideal for that. You could probably push them to an A3 print if you want to, but invariably, if it's going to be in a book or or on the social networks, then these cameras are ideal. There are, as we know, many professionals using these cameras now to do their professional work. And well, I can't see any major differences with them. We can all sit down and look at them and sort of complain and make comments about the pixels and the grain and the noise and all this situation, but these cameras now are real quality items. It's just a question that I think this year, this is what I was going to ask you next. Do you see, that obviously doesn't affect you because you've made the definite move, but do you see mirrorless cameras taking over from the DSLR range, or do you think there still will be the DSLR camera?
I think there will be still DSLR cameras for studio work or exports or places where you need speed, quality, like a body which you can hold, and because with a bigger body you have probably more stabilization and you really have something in your head. But for everybody else, especially in street photography, I cannot believe that you would ever shoot a DSLR anymore. So it's even the full frame cameras like the Sony A7 or the Leica, it's a smaller body, it's mirrorless, and that's how it will look in the future. And even the average photographer will probably go to mirrorless cameras because if they need something more than the phone replaces the small snap cameras or click and point and shoot. Point and shoot, yes.
Yes.
And if somebody wants something bigger or more enhanced than the mobile phone, they would go for a mirrorless camera. And I think it will be mirrorless cameras and DSLRs and probably nothing else.
You see, one of the things which I was talking to my guest last week, Levi Shand, we were talking about Daido Moriyama, the Japanese photographer, and he uses literally a pocket compact camera, an extremely small sensor, but the quality of the work that he produces, and I think this is where a lot of people get confused. When they get a camera, they obviously go through as you say, from the phone, they probably get a compact, then they think, I've got to have a big camera, a DSLR. And of course, when it comes to using that in street photography, they're not quite so inconspicuous as a smaller camera like the Olympus or the Fuji's. Then, of course, the next thing down the line, they want another lens, they want a bigger lens, and before they realize they've got a huge backpack of gear, which 9 times out of 10 they don't use half of it, do they?
Yes. I would tend to have more minimalism in photography. I meet a lot of people, they have like a lot of gear, they carry everything, they come with backpacks, and they say, what do you need that for? For workshops, I say 1 camera, 1 lens. Decide between a 35 equivalent if you can get close, and if you are a bit afraid, you go with a 50 or even more. It doesn't matter. You just have to know that you cannot shoot everything, and you don't have to shoot everything. You just focus on something that your camera is capable of. And I would even say you can even use a mobile phone. It's just in the head of the photographer that the bigger the camera, the better the picture should get, but that's a complete nonsense.
Yeah, I quite agree with you.
I have met people, they had like 2 full-frame mirrorless cameras with them, but they couldn't take any pictures.
Yeah. I think and also when you actual fact, because I did this, I sold all my Nikon gear and I bought a Fuji XE1 with the 1855 zoom lens. And that, in actual fact, I think my photography improved because it made me think more, and I wasn't thinking, oh, I better change the lens for another lens because I want to try this style now. You're effectively in a situation where you're stuck with the gear. Now get on with it, so to speak, and get out there and shoot.
Yes, and you should stop trying things out. Of course, at the beginning you have to try out a lot of things, but someday you have to decide, I would like to shoot this, and then you go deep, because when you shoot a lot of things, you just are even below average, because you just try out a lot of things and nothing really in a certain depth.
That's a good point you make, actually, because what you're saying is there, when you go out, and we're talking street photography, when you go out, you basically go out with a set theme of what you're looking to achieve that day. You're not just potentially going out to see what happens. Am I right in what you're saying there?
I always suggest that, but I normally don't do it myself all the time.
Yeah.
But I know the more you follow that thought, that you really say, okay, today I have a project with this and this and this settings, or this and this different things you have to fulfill, the more of such stuff you see. When you just focus on a color or just on feet
Yeah.
or hands or heads or whatever, you will see that stuff. But
Yeah,
if
you
you
will.
just go out and you don't have a plan, you will not do a lot of good pictures, especially when you are a beginner or when you don't do that very often. I go out sometimes just for fun, just for a walk with friends, and then I will just shoot what I see, but it's not the right approach. You should really either work a bit harder and get something on your mind first, and then when it's on your mind, you'll really see it.
Mm. It's a good point you make, actually. When you go out, set yourself some kind of goal, some kind of plan as regards to what you want to achieve after that. And it's difficult if you're just going out for a walkabout with some friends. Then of course you just shoot. But if you're on your own, you want to set yourself a project. Then that's the best route. Let's talk. You made a very good point there. And there, talk about the settings that you use when you're out shooting. Could you tell us how basically you set your camera up for a normal street shooting event for yourself?
It's very simple. I put everything possible in automatic and I shoot in P mode. So I have automatic white balance, automatic ISO. The range is from the lowest to 60,400. I use a prime lens, so I cannot zoom. I don't lose time by zooming. I use P mode, so the aperture and the shutter speed is given by the camera. So I can completely focus on the content and also on composition. Because I realize that a lot of people think if they do everything manually, they somehow add more to the picture and they seem to be better photographers. But between the moment I see something and I have to take the shot, there's maybe just 1 second.
Mm.
And in the second, I cannot do much more than compose and press the button. And even put the autofocus point and use autofocus. Sometimes I even use face detection, and then it's even a bit faster.
Yeah.
And in the end, nobody really asks you if you made the exposure manually, if you did the autofocus manually. When it's in focus and correctly exposed, nobody asks about that.
Mm.
And I think you will lose more shots by misfocus when you focus manually, or you will wrongly expose when you expose manually, because when you turn on the left side, it's on you, on the right side, it's shadow.
Yeah.
So how would you have to always
Yeah, you have to make
adjust.
the adjustment. Yeah, exactly.
It's not possible. And people who look at my pictures, I think they should realize that this technique works. I do that since I have my GF1, like the Lumix, but since 4 years or even more. And I have made good experiences, and I really still have time for composition. A lot of beginners in my workshops, they just hold the camera up, press the button, and then the subject is in the middle. It's not a good composition. And I always try to explain it's not the settings that make the shot; it's actually the composition.
Yeah, exactly right.
And
it's the composition. Yeah. One of the settings which I'm doing at the moment is setting the ISO to auto, and setting shutter speed and aperture, and they balance out basically because the ISO makes the adjustment as regards where you say from light to shadow. The ISO makes the adjustment for me. So if there's something which I want to blur, then I'll obviously set a 30th or lower in terms of shutter speed, and the ISO balances out. Generally, I'm losing the aperture at around about f2 or f2.8, that sort of thing. But that's a preferred style. But it's interesting you say program setting, because really these cameras today are so good in terms of creating the balanced image for you.
Yes, I compare it sometimes with a car. If you have to drive through a lot of traffic through a city, an automatic is much more convenient than if you always. But if you drive up a mountain, it's probably more fun to
Yeah.
have manual gears, but in the end, it's the important thing is that you get to your destination.
And you keep the car on the road and you get to the
Yes,
destination.
yes.
Exactly right. So your concentration's on that. Very true. That's a good point. That's interesting what you say there with regards to setting your cameras. There's something which I didn't think you were going to say, actually. I thought you were going to say it was aperture priority, which is the norm, isn't it, that you're using there. So let's talk about your workshops, because this is now becoming, this is quite a big thing for you now. You're doing quite a lot of workshops?
Yes, there are probably, last year there were about 7. This year there will be about the same, 8 or something, depending what will come. I normally don't like teaching workshops because for me it's not that interesting. I only like it when people ask me if I come to present. They will organize everything. They organize the people, the room, and everything. I just have to get there, present, meet some people, have some fun, and then go home again.
Yeah.
If I would have to organize it myself, it's a bit too much effort. I started now with 3 workshops, just practical workshops. I just go out with 5 or 6 people. They have as a homework before to prepare, they have to take my video training I did on Udemy. And so they have like the technical background they learn from the video training, and then I go out with them for 4 hours to shoot in the streets. And we will just look at the pictures. They send me some pictures up front that I can judge how their level is. Then we make certain assignments. I always go with one of them. Probably we make 5 or 6 assignments. And then after that we go to a cafe or restaurant and look at the shops, and I will give some feedback.
Yeah. Do you, when you, one thing I wanted to ask you earlier on with regards to when we were talking about the settings, how much editing and do you do of your images after you've actually get to download your images? I assume you use Lightroom, do you, or
yes,
Aperture?
Aperture is not. I used Aperture for a long time, till about 1.5 or 2 years ago, and now I use Lightroom.
Okay.
And I don't download all my pictures. I just pick the good ones from the card and delete the card, because it's much easier to pick 5 pictures out of 100 than press 95 times the delete button. And post-processing, I always say, if I cannot do it within 1 minute, it's a bad photograph.
Yep.
Because if you have to do too many things, there's something wrong.
I think you're right. I've heard this said many times. Rincy Ruiz, who said to me that because I was really surprised when he goes out, he'll probably take about 95 images maximum. He said he'll then bring them home, download them, and then walk away and leave the computer for 3 days later. And then he'll start his editing process. Mary Lagno, who I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, she needs to do them straight away. As soon as she gets home, downloads, starts working on them straight away. But everyone has said the same thing. If you can't get the image that you want within the first 2 or 3 minutes, and I know you've said a minute, forget it, move on to the next image, because you'll never correct a bad image.
Yes, and if you have to crop too much or something, then you just didn't do it right, because you should have the image in your head before you press the button, already in the composition. And if you, sure, some people, they are afraid to get close and they have to compensate that by cropping. At the beginning, this is probably fine, I did that as well. But after a certain time, you should just take the crop out of the camera, how you took it in the camera, and this should be your image. And you should just add some contrast, vignette, sharpening, black and white conversation, stuff like that.
Your preference is for mono photography, am I correct in that?
Yes.
Have you ever done an extensive project in color work at all?
Not a project. I just published recently, about 1 month ago, about 20 images in a row in color, after publishing probably 1,000 in black and white.
Yeah.
Because I had some colored shots that I couldn't publish in black and white because the color was relevant. But I don't like color. I think today it's too colorful. Life is too colorful. It's very difficult to make a good colored shot, because when there are too many colors in a photograph, it's not working for me.
Right.
So it's only working when you have like matching colors. or just a very few colors that even work well together, then it's fine. But just a normal street scene, it's too colorful.
When you talk about that, that's interesting. When you come into your editing process, do you look at an image and think, maybe if I started using maybe an analog type view to this, or try and make it replicate a Kodachrome or a Polaroid image? Do you try other filters which are available in Lightroom, for argument's sake?
I would only do that for probably a certain project or to apply a new style.
Mm-hmm.
I did post-processing for the last probably 2 or 3 years, more or less in the same way, and my pictures all look the same.
Mm.
And if you would like to break this, to make something new, you probably find a new preset that you like, or you create one yourself, and then keep doing this for a longer period of time. Or you just say, okay, in this project I use this and this filter to apply a certain look. But I think if you experiment too much, people will not recognize your pictures anymore, based on style.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Too much change. Coming really back to what you're saying with regards to the lenses, you keep changing your lens, you don't find out exactly where you are with your photography. Let's talk about your favorite photographer, Thomas. It doesn't have to be someone from the, as I say it most endearingly, old timer. It could be someone of present day. Who would that be? Your favorite photographer?
I often get asked this question, and I normally don't really know what to say, because I don't know a lot of photographers. Sure, I know the big names, but not too many of them. And there are some that really, I like some pictures, not all of them. I was at a Bresson exhibition about 3 years ago in Zurich, and I liked only about 3 pictures, and the rest for me was more or less average and not that spectacular. And I have my stream of people I follow, maybe 50 people, and there are some, I would not like to say a name.
Right.
Because it's too difficult just to name it. I like, for example, the work of Siegfried Hansen.
That's a name I've heard of.
A street photographer from Hamburg, Germany. He has a very good eye with like repeating things, same colors, same shapes. It's a bit more abstract than.
Right.
It's more like the in public style from like Max Stewart, or he's also already in public since about a year or something. I like him because he sees things that probably nobody else sees. And at the beginning I thought it can't be possible that you see that. And I met him like 2 or 3 times, about 4 years ago the first time. And since I walked with him, I instantly knew that he really sees these things. And he told me how he does it. He walks a lot. He looks probably first 3 or 4 times he passes the same situation and thinks, okay, if there and there is something going on, I will take the shot, but it's not, the scene is not ready yet. So he walks more or less the same route every day, or every now and then he started to take pictures when the moment is right. And this is an approach that I have never heard before, and I can really say that this seems to work. And there are things that are just not there yet, but the stage or something is already correct, or it's already there.
Yeah. It's just made me think, actually, from your aspect, when you're walking around, do you sort of stay in one particular area, or are you just constantly moving? When I spoke to Marie Langio, she constantly moving. She doesn't stay in one area. She doesn't use what I would term as a staged area to get the image that she's looking for. She'll take a photograph. She'll then move on to another area and just keep moving. What's your style in terms of that process?
Normally, I walk as long as until I see something, and then sometimes I stop to wait for the right scene. Or when I see like a stage, I just need one person to enter the stage and make a shot. But I think it's probably just 80% walking and 20% waiting for the right moment.
Yeah, Yeah.
I,
Let's.
I found
Sorry.
I found another photographer I really like. His
Yeah.
name is Hakoyama Junichi. He's from Japan. I can
Okay.
send the link. I can post the link in the yes. You can probably post it on the show notes or something.
Yes, I'll put that in the show notes. Thank you. Unichikawa. Yeah. Crikey. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yes, it's a bit
I'll have a look at
difficult
him
for me.
later on, actually, because I will
He
put that in the
has
show
a
notes. And if could you send me the link of that the photographer from Hamburg as well, please? I'd like to put that
yes.
in the blog after the show. Where do you get your inspiration from, though, Thomas? Is it from a photographer, or is it an inspiration from maybe, I don't know, a family member?
No, it's not even that. It's sometimes I I most of the inspiration or the ideas I get when I take a shower in the morning or
Really?
when I do certain things where I don't have to concentrate too much. For example, when I'm brushing my teeth or something, I like things the body knows what to do, but you
Hmm.
don't. You have time to think about something else. So I have a lot of inspiration just in such moments. Sometimes while I'm watching a movie, just maybe a title of a photograph of a project, or when I look through magazines or reading newspapers, it's sometimes it's just there. There is an idea and an inspiration. Sometimes I see things other people have done, or from a picture I see, I get some other idea I could take. So it's not something I can say. It's just there. It happens every day and everywhere. It's different at different occasions.
Hmm. Who, just going right back to the beginning of the conversation when you got your first camera, did you use a camera when was the first camera that you used? Was it given to you by one of your parents, or someone had a camera in the house, or?
No, it's like 7 years ago. I bought my first DSLR. Sure, before I had some point and shoot cameras
Yeah.
for vacations, but I never took photography seriously until 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So that was
Amazing
my
how quickly this has all happened for you, because I remember seeing your images, well, picked you up on YouTube, and then from your website, and then you were interviewed by Eric Kim, which I saw that, and it's all happened very, very quickly for you in a short space of time. You've had exhibitions as well, yes?
I had some, but just a few ones. I actually don't like exhibitions because it's always a big effort. There are some people coming, but most of the times you carry home a lot of your images. And if I would be able to just sell them, and at the end I would have like a zero, nothing spent, nothing received, it would be fine. But I
Yeah, sure.
don't like to have many pictures printed in my cellar. So I don't like. It's also quite a small area where people would come to, because I have a lot of followers around the world and they would not be able to join. So it's not really
Mm.
the goal to have an exhibition.
Do you print any of your work, or is that done by an outside source?
I don't have a printer, no,
No,
not.
you don't print. So
I have
basically, all your
only
work's just going out on the social network.
yes.
Yeah.
Some prints. I have one print here.
I was going to
Um,
say the one behind you. Who did that?
yes, that's one of an early portrait I did in Beirut. That was the time when I was there with Eric Kim, the first workshop we did together in. Maybe I have to tell the story.
Yes, why not?
How to, I don't know, it's a bit difficult to title that. Eric Kim, it was about 5 years ago. Eric Kim, I followed him since about 2 or 3 months. He published on a blog post that he's looking for donations for a flight to Beirut. He got
Oh
invited.
yes.
He got invited for a street photography workshop, but he had to pay his flight on his own. He was a student, 22 or whatever years old, didn't have any money. So he asked the community for donations for about $1,000 or 800. It was the first amount was 800. So I thought, okay, I don't know this guy, but I would like to go there. So I told him I pay $800 for the full amount. I just want to join you. Is that possible? And he said, well, he has to check with the host there. And then he said, yes, it's fine. So we did like a short video conversation on YouTube, on Skype. And then I sent $800 to a complete strangers, traveled to a city where everybody said, are you crazy? It's too dangerous.
Yeah.
Met a lot of strangers and got a lot of friends. It was probably the best experience I had for a long time. And half a year later, he came to Switzerland for another workshop, and the $800 came back.
Amazing.
Sometimes you have to take a certain risk, give something before you can ask for money.
Yeah, I think in actual fact that sums up a lot of photographers, actually, their willingness to share not only just work and share the images that you post, but photographers that are prepared to share their knowledge with other people of the same interest, and you've gone that stage further where you've actually donated money, and Eric very kindly has reciprocated later and has given you the money back, which that's a nice story actually. Again, when you mentioned Beirut, there's certainly one of the cities which I would think to myself twice about going to before possibly going there, but again, from what you've said, and I've heard it before, it is a lovely place to go to. There's some very nice people there.
Yes, it's an interesting place. A lot of street photographers. After our trip there was a Beirut Street Photographers founded, and there are quite a lot of people doing street photography there just because of that workshop.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely. Thomas, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for adjusting the time schedule that we originally had set out, and I hope that I've been all the way through the show. I've been getting, can I join the hangout, but we haven't been able to do that. So I hope the guys that will be able to watch it later on YouTube. So Thomas, thank you very much indeed for joining me tonight. And it's just for me to finalise, as I always say, if you are going out shooting, leave your camera bag at home. All the best to you. Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.